how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm so happy that you had a moment to share with me today.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So if you want to just go kind of introduce yourself first, and then we'll get started with some Q&A.
All right, sounds good. My background is I'm from this region. My dad's family's from Saginaw. My mom's family's from Bay City. So I sort of say I'm like a citizen of the Great Lakes Bay region. I
Yeah.
was born in Saginaw, went to school in Bay County, and then I've lived in Midland now for probably like 15 years or so. So I guess Midland's home.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's just sort of my background. I live in Midland with my husband, who's a professor at Delta and Mid-Michigan Community College. And we have 3 black labishes, as we call them.
Mhm.
And for work, I'm at Dow in the legal department. I've been there for 21 years. I'm not a lawyer, but
Oh wow.
I've been there my whole career.
Yeah.
And in the community, which is how we met,
Yeah.
I'm involved in a couple things, one of which is the Visibility Project podcast.
Yes.
And you actually had our team on your show, and that's
Yeah.
how we met for the first time. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
that's just a little bit about me.
Yeah, and you do a lot. You do a lot more than that, of course, but that's just a little small part of it. Let's get started with a few questions. And
Sounds
you
good.
mentioned, working at Dow and being there for 21 years, I think you
Yeah.
said. What's something you wish you would have known at the beginning of your career?
So many things. So many things. I wish I had known to ask for what I was worth.
Oh, that's a big one. Especially being a woman.
Yes.
I mean, do you agree? And I hate getting into gender things, but it's just some things are just what they are, right? Where
Yes.
sometimes women, when we've done the research, I mean,
Yeah.
the differences between a male doing the same job, sometimes less than what you do, and what you do, is a big difference. So, but go ahead. I didn't mean I just
Yeah.
feel like
No.
those.
No, and for whatever reason, that's the first thing that popped into my head because I started at Dow as a co-op student,
Oh,
and I had been basically doing the job for about a year when I applied for a full-time position,
sure.
and they started me at the very, very bottom, like the lowest pay you can get, in that job family. And I was 19. I didn't really know any better, the
You were
first
just so happy.
professional. Yeah, benefits.
Yeah,
At the time, the salary seemed really, really great. And compared to friends and family in similar situations, it probably was.
yeah,
But boy, did it take me a long time to sort of, I think, make up for lost time, if you will.
yeah,
I kind of was behind for a long time. So financially, like literally your salary sort of ask for what you're worth, but also sort of demand respect and opportunities as well. Right. I mean, sometimes it's hard to know what the financial opportunities are or what the asks are. You don't know how much you should make maybe in a position,
right.
but what you can contribute and what value you can bring.
Yeah.
And I think as a young person, sometimes you just don't have that voice yet and you're not sure, how to find your way in. But
Yeah.
really spending time to kind of figure out who you are and really ask for what you deserve is so important. So I think I wish I learned that earlier. I don't think I learned that until my late 20s,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. I mean, it happens, right? Because
Yeah.
I know for myself, when I was younger, I just was so happy to have a job. I
Yep.
mean, when I was younger, I could not wait until I was old enough to get a job and make my own money. And then once they offered me a job, I didn't care I didn't care. I'm like, just give me. And then as you
Yeah.
get older, like you said, when you get into more of like a career, again, you don't know. And again, you're just happy to have that,
Yeah.
that career that's going to pay you a certain amount every couple of weeks or every, whatever. And you're just happy to be in that motion and not realizing
Yeah.
that, wait a minute, I bring so much more to this place, this environment, to my coworkers. And sometimes we do more than our bosses
Yeah.
do. And and it's like where's the compensation for that? So what do you think, and this is kind of off, but what do you think happened for you to get to that point of realizing, okay, I need to understand my worth, because that goes, I mean, it overflows into all of our life, not just our
Yes.
career, but just period, knowing to know our worth is. So what do you think happened for you to get there?
Sure. I can honestly pinpoint like a period of my life. And again, it was my late 20s for me. And, you know, for for younger viewers who are used to this kind of world where you're connected all the time, that just was not our world, you know, gosh, 13, 14 years ago.
No.
So my late 20s, I was living alone, I was single, and I was just like, what do I want for me? So I did a couple of interesting things at that point. I auditioned for a play. I did a bunch of things outside my comfort zone just to try to figure out what was Joslyn, like what was my thing. And I just think in that process of exploration, I did a lot of learning. You know, I joined Toastmasters to work on public speaking. So I became more just naturally confident in some of those skills. And just as I started to do all of this self-exploration and kind of try to figure out myself, sort of, you know, you sort of attract energy when you're attracted to yourself, you know? And so I met my husband during that time, and like, you know, all of these things started happening. But I think, you know, in terms of my career, the aha moment was nobody's doing this for me. Right. I mean, I can sit in this chair and work really, really hard all day. And I would love for that to be enough. I mean, I know there's so many people that just sit in their chair and work so hard. And I wish that were enough. And maybe someday it will be. But I realized that wasn't getting me promotions. That wasn't getting me opportunities. And so it wasn't every career progression I had was when I walked into someone's office and said, okay, I've got this education requirement that you asked for. I've got these, you know, I've done all these projects. Like, when am I getting the next thing? Right. And so when I took my career into my hands, is finally when I started seeing real change.
See that, and see that is so beautiful, because I constantly talk about self accountability, right? And people understand it sometimes, and sometimes they don't. And there's different layers to it, of course, throughout our life. But I mean, you can't just sit around and just hope that everything's just going to fall into your lap, right? Or that, you know, you're, like you said, you're good, you're doing a good enough job that people would just recognize it. It doesn't happen like that all the time. No. Unfortunately. But yeah, sometimes you have to speak up. Because what I always tell people is that other people know your worth. They see your worth. They see what you bring to the table. But if they can only give you so much for that, people are most times people are going to do that. So yes, you have to speak up for yourself, and it's not easy, you know. But finding that voice is really important.
Well, to your point about, you know, about some gender differences, I actually have a book in my office called How to Brag. I can't remember the full title, but, you know, women sort of, if I'm generalizing, have a hard time bragging. It's like not in our nature to boast about our accomplishments. But unfortunately, if someone else is boasting about the same or lesser things, they're getting noticed for that work. So if you're just working and nobody knows you're doing it, I mean, that's just not bringing you sort of the same kudos, the same opportunities, because you're not, you know, you're not getting out there. So And you
know, I think a lot of that goes back to the things that are taught to us as women, that it's not ladylike, or it's not this, or it's, you know, you know, you're not supposed, you're just supposed to just be pretty and just stand there and just, and it's like, no, you know, and it's really interesting because words are used differently when men are doing it than when we do it. And it's just a fact, you know, and I know people argue this, but it's just a fact. I mean, we see it all the time where, you know, we're called aggressive and they're assertive. These words that are used in a positive light and negative for us is exhausting, for one. And, you know, and tired. So I applaud you for, you know, realizing, like, wait a minute, I deserve more, and I'm going to at least advocate for myself and see where that leads me.
Yeah.
I
think marketing and psychology or sociology are like so ingrained in our existence in every aspect of our life. I said something to my husband the other night about that. I think with politics, actually, that wow, just like the impact that marketing and psychology play into, you know, what media feeds us, what we think about ourselves, what we experience, what we think of other people. It's so much more impactful, I think, than people really realize. And so it's the same when it comes to you, right? The persona you put out there is, it's hitting someone in their brain a certain way. It's doing things to them that they're projecting onto you what they see based on their experiences. And so, I mean, you can use that to your advantage, but also, I mean, it's a responsibility then that you have to yourself to make sure that if something got mixed up along the way. You say, wait a minute,
Sure.
like, here's my intention with this message, right?
Yes.
So it's such a powerful thing. But again, you have to understand what you're marketing in order for it to be
Exactly.
successful.
No, exactly. No, you really hit somewhere here because I was talking to someone about that, like even down to like McDonald's and their yellow and red. That was done intentionally, like colors that people use to trigger things within our brain.
Yes.
All this stuff is real, you know, as far as like marketing and stuff like that, and trying to get into the core of this psyche, you know,
Yep.
and to, like you said, how you view yourself, what you want to do. I mean, sometimes you look up and you're going somewhere and it's like, why do I want this? And you remember that you saw a commercial with this sizzling, you know, piece of chicken or something. And, you know, and then of course when you get there, it never looks like that. But
No,
uh,
never.
but no, what you, and I like what you said about, you know, because really you are marketing for yourself. You are you are the product, right? And you have to see yourself as a valuable product and a darn good one, you know. So it's like you know, you have to really like, but it takes time for everybody to get to that point where they see themselves as valuable and a product that is deserving to be at the top shelf. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And not be afraid to rebrand. I mean, I don't know about you, but
I
right? I mean, it's not always super obvious or super like aggressive or out there, but it's, you know, I'm my husband calls me a serial hobbyist because I'm into so many things. I love doing so many things. And so I'll go through seasons, right? And in those seasons, I'm a little bit different. You know, sometimes I'm yellow and sometimes I'm black and white, right? It just depends on the moment and what I'm working on. So that's the other thing, is just to not get stuck and decide, oh, well, I've said I'm this, so now I can't ever change. Well, no.
Exactly.
Learning and growing. We
are ever changing. We have to, yes, I love that, because I know even when I first started this, the Breaking Bread Village, you know, I had more darker colors that signified something. I mean, it had, everything I do has a meaning, but it's, what is that meaning? And I'm like, you know, but I love color and I love this and I love brightness. I'm bold. That's my personality. And also like sometimes when I'm dressed and things of that nature. So I'm like, you know what? I want to change this. And you know, that's what I did. But yeah, it's okay to do that. Like, and you don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't have to like none of that. You know, it's just like, this is what I'm feeling right now. And we evolve. And as you evolve, change happens, of course. And however that change shows up is okay.
Right.
Yes. My next question for you is, share a moment that changed you in some way. And it sounds like that's one of them. But I'm sure you have something else that you might be able to share.
Yeah, this one, the first thing that comes to my mind is job related, and it goes back to, and I think you and I have talked about this before, but I didn't join Dow to work at Dow forever. That was really never my intention. I joined as a college student. My friend worked in the plant. She said, you got to work in the plant. I thought that's what I was doing. Turned out, no, I was working in the legal department. I just didn't understand the label, intellectual property. And so I'm at Dow and I change roles and I do start slowly progressing, but I never ever planned to stay. And I always applied for different jobs and I could never get different jobs. And I was like, gosh, you know, I at one point kind of resigned myself to the fact that, okay, I wasn't going to like my job, but I was going to do good in the community. And that was going to be how I balanced that. And then in 2018, we had our company started changing and evolving into its new culture. And we had our first ever inclusion and diversity conference called our All ERG conference in Houston. I was lucky enough to be able to go. And I loved it. I was there with, hundreds of colleagues from all over the world. And our incoming general counsel, who would be, my senior leader, was there. And she's so approachable and kind and just really cares about people. And it's so obvious. And I was there and I was like, oh my gosh. This is why I'm still here. I am in this department because my purpose here is to help change this culture, is to help usher in this new people-centered approach, that we are not just robots doing Dow work. We are humans. And so I've done that. Really changed sort of my entire perspective about that place. I love my job. I am, I'm now responsible for inclusion, diversity, and equity for the legal department, along with, our leader. And so I've just been so fulfilled. It led me to the Visibility Project podcast, that group of people. Like, so many things have really changed as a result of that single experience. And now I will usher in the last 10 to 15 years of my career at Dow in the legal department. And I say with confidence, I will retire from this position.
Well, that's awesome. It's always a good feeling when you find your place, right? And your people, because I think a lot of us, especially when you are a creative and kind of different in that light, you do kind of feel like an island sometimes, because it's like, is there anybody else weird out there like me?
Right?
You have to kind of find your people, and I don't really subscribe to a lot of the things that people have said, like, because you look like this or you are from here or whatever, that you should be like this. I just kind of am who I am, and I just kind of operate that way. And I'm really thankful, as you just stated, like, that when you find your places, when you find your tribes and your people, it's just freeing. You know what I mean? You feel so free.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think I realized I didn't have my full tribe. I don't think I knew, because I hadn't experienced this before. Right. I have great friends. I have great confidants. I have awesome, network. But in terms of like what I have now, it's like every new relationship or person I meet in this community doing this work or trying to make a difference, I feel like I have another person who could be a best friend. Like, it just keeps happening, and it's amazing.
And it's so confirming. And and I always tell people, if you can't go to bed at night and feel like you've accomplished something that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because for me, it's like, I have to be able to, and some people are fine with it. Some people can do the same thing all day, every day for 20, 30 years and be fine. So, hey, kudos to them. But for me, I have to be able to go to sleep at night saying that, and it doesn't have to be anything super grand, right? But just that I did something to help cause a ripple effect in some kind of way, in the world today. And then I can sleep well at night knowing that. So, and it's just a freeing experience. So, I'm happy that you found that, for sure.
Thank you.
What's one thing that you would tell your younger self?
I think one thing I often think about when it comes to teenagers, sort of, or early preteens and teenagers in particular, that is such a small period of life. And I know there are so many emotions, I think, and it's such a hard time. Like, that is just one of the hardest periods of life. But in retrospect, it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like,
we felt like that was life.
Yes. And you're like, there's so many hard things in that moment happening. And so I guess I wish I could tell myself to just, like, this too shall pass. You got this. Just keep being who you are. If you need to cry, if you need to feel some emotions, feel them and do the things. But I promise you, this is a blip on the radar, because I think it's just like my wish. I have a niece who's kind of entering that preteen, and I just see all of that happening again, and I'm like, it's just, I just want you. I just wish I could just, like, snap my fingers and take all that away. So
it's interesting, because not only inside hormonally are we changing, but I mean, like you said, emotionally, and then too, that is the most awkward stages of our faces too. It's it's like our faces morph into something else, and then they morph into. It's just because I remember looking back at pictures of myself, and I'm like, wow, just different. Our noses are bigger or something. I don't know, like this is bigger or smaller, and some people deal with acne and things of that nature. And I will say, I was I never dealt with acne as a teenager. But now as an adult, sometimes it flares, and I'm like, no, we're not doing this. That time has already passed. We're not doing that now.
Right. Just tell that to my face. I have a lot of makeup on right now, but I'm same. But it's just, but just same, right? Like, you just think, gosh, and you're also confronted with really hard questions, like, what do you want to be forever when you're like 17 and 18? And you're like, I can barely function, people. Like, why are you giving me this? So also, like, to that question, you don't have to know right now. You do not have to know.
You don't. And it is such a big question, and I hate it. It's like, so whenever I see teenagers now that I know are like seniors, about to graduate, or juniors or whatever, I just ask, what's your next steps? Do you have a next step? And it's like, because some of them want to do missionary trips, or some want to, travel the world. Some people want to go to college or a trade, or don't do anything, go into the military, whatever. I hate that question. I do, because it's a lot of pressure, and you feel like, you have to have this big answer, or people are going to be disappointed, or what have you. It's like, they don't know, I mean, oftentimes people go to school and for certain things, and then they change the total, career.
Yeah. Oh, you're hearing my dogs are barking. Sorry about that. No, same. And it took me like 7 years to get my bachelor's degree because I kept swapping and things out. So
yeah. Do they want to come inside? Are they trying to get into your room?
No, they're barking at the door. So probably it's Amazon season,
Oh yeah,
so somebody's getting something delivered.
Oh yes. No, you're fine. No. So yes, I mean, I was going to ask you if you had a couple words to leave encouragement, but I mean, that's a big one too. But if you had anything else you want to add, please do.
I was thinking about what I would want to leave people with, and I think this current environment, we forget a little bit that other people matter.
Yeah.
Even if they believe something different than you, if their experiences have been different than you, that we really we all belong to help each other, and that we really need to come together to remember that. I think I have kindness tattooed here because that's my number one value. And I just hurting people's feelings and making people feel bad about themselves is just not something I can reconcile. And so I just I guess I would just hope that people kind of take a moment to pause when they're making a choice that might impact other people, and just remember that other people matter.
And it's the stuff we say, and it's I was thinking about something the other day, a person that I typically don't really agree with their thought processes. They had someone pass away in their family from cancer, and at that moment, I thought about how empathetic I was to them, because I've had people in my family pass away to cancer, or people in my family that have dealt with cancer, and I was really saddened for them, and I felt a sense of need to comfort them and console them. And at that moment, I didn't care about their politics or their whatever, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of stuff that we definitely don't agree on, and we're both very clear on that, in a respectful. I mean, they've never been disrespectful to me, but they're not one of my favorite people. But in that moment, who cares, right? Because I think that's what kind of goes to what you're talking about in regards to listen, yes, people have different viewpoints about a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, a lot of us all deal with the same struggles throughout this life, and we have to be able to show at least some empathy and kindness during those moments, what I mean?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It's just important. It's so needed. Well, Joslyn, I appreciate you for taking the time to be here today. And if you all have any type of community events coming up or anything you want, even if it's a visibility project, I will definitely share that when we share this interview, this conversation. Awesome. I definitely will share that. So if you want to send me anything that you would like me to share, I would love to do that. But again, thank you so much for being here. I truly, truly appreciate you for taking the time.
Thank you, Erin. Take care.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.